Have you ever looked at your career or business journey and wondered, how do all these pieces fit together? From hard moments, moments of clarity, or to those pivots that you didn't quite expect? In this episode of Gather, I'm sharing with you 3 key moments in my career journey that completely changed the way I approach business, marketing, and leadership, and just the way that I show up in business to serve people. This is a conversation about how God uses those moments to shape our hearts into what He's calling us next. So if you're a business owner and you're feeling stretched right now, or you're in your career and you're starting to feel a shift of something new, I hope this episode reminds you that those moments in your journey is not a mistake. It is preparation. So let's gather together. Welcome to Gather Podcast, where we help women navigate business, career, motherhood, and more, all while keeping your faith at the center. Because we believe growth never happens alone. It happens when we gather. Hello, everyone. My name is Lauren. I am so excited to be here with you guys. I am a marketing director, an entrepreneur, and mom of 2. And I am building my business in real time. And I am so excited in particular for today's episode because as I was preparing for today, I was kind of forced to self-reflect and look back on my career journey. And what is so amazing to me is that God really lets nothing go to waste. There were so many moments in my career where I was feeling lost and things just kind of felt fragmented. And I look back now and I see where I am and what I'm doing and building. And my goodness, God is so good because He uses it all. So if you're climbing a corporate ladder, career ladder, or you are building a business and things just feel rough or fragmented, or you just don't know how it's all going to piece together, I want you to know that none of it is a waste. It's all made for a plan and God's going to use it. And so what I'm excited about is as I looked back, there are 3 moments in my career where they were kind of aha moments that business is really not just about strategy. Yes, strategy is important, but without people, culture, and systems that work together, business growth is going to be very hard and challenging. And so today I kind of want to just talk about that and share those things with you. I have my notes here that I'll be looking down occasionally just to make sure that I don't miss sharing anything. But moment number 1 in my career journey really starts at the very beginning. And I'm calling this moment Systems Change Everything. So at the start of my career, I was about 25 when I landed my second orthodontic job. I was an administrative coordinator. I had very little knowledge of all of the ortho terms, but I was so eager to learn. At this point in my career, just starting, I was pretty timid. I was not really sure what would become of working in this ortho office, but I was so lucky because the office that I worked for or got hired for was like the office to be at. Whether you were a patient or an employee, people wanted to work there. People wanted to go get their braces there. They had done, up until this point, such a good job with branding and building, I guess, a good reputation for themselves. And, being timid and working at this office that was pretty well-oiled machine. They had a lot of systems in place, but there was still a lot of frustrations that the CEO and the leadership team had. There were frustrations because they had really big growth plans, but things weren't happening. Like they were always just a little under the goals and things weren't moving in the ways that they wanted to. And so early on in my career, I used, my timidity for the greater good, I guess, if you will. I used being timid to just observe and to listen. I always listened. What were the frustrations of the leadership team? What were the things that they were frustrated about and the things that they were looking at? What were the numbers that they were looking at? The goals that they were setting? And what I also leaned into was not just listening to what they were saying, but what were the things that they weren't saying? I listened to a YouTube video recently and the guy calls them ghost notes. There's data points that we see, but then there's data points and things that people say that aren't said. It's kind of in between the lines. And that's something, now looking back at my career, that has always been something that really helps me. And at the time really helped accelerate my career growth. So with all of that information, what were their frustrations? What are the things that they're not saying? I took those and I applied it every single day. I showed up to my job. I looked at the systems. I realized the frustrations that they had were linked directly to certain systems we had that needed to be refined, or systems that we didn't even have in place. So I began to implement systems. I began to raise my hand quietly in the back and offer like suggestions for refining systems. And what about we tweak this? And I began testing systems without even asking and seeing if I switched this up a little bit, does it help? And does it address the issues and provide a solution for these things that the leadership team was frustrated about? And over time, I learned that systems mean everything in business growth. Corporate businesses have systems, but small businesses, no matter how small your business is, systems are important because you can work as hard as you want. You can hustle if you want, but that's not going to scale. It's systems that scale. And so this is a big aha moment for me in my career early on, is realizing that the systems are so important and crucial to evaluate and set up and continue it to reevaluate. So when I began to do this for this company, we were able to go from, plateaued at like $3.2 million year after year after year to vastly increasing to about 4.2 million within a year and a half. But that's just one piece of the puzzle, which leads me to moment 2 in my career journey, which I'm calling leadership, culture, and customer experience. Now, these 3 things are crucial, and they're often overlooked in a lot of businesses, or only one piece of the one piece of that puzzle is nurtured. So when I refined systems and helped kind of set the stage of growth for the orthodontic office, working in the admin team, there's eventually a point in my career where I was asked and approached to become their brand and communications director. So essentially I was overseeing all of the teams when it came to customer service, all of the branding, the messaging, all of the marketing strategy. And this was my first leadership role. I was actually going to be in charge of a team. And at this time, I was 26 or 27. I was terrified of stepping into leadership. Yes, I was absolutely excited, but there was also so much nerves around being a leader because I was young. And the employees that I was going to be managing were mid-40s to early 50s. And I was just really concerned with how I would be perceived. And so the best decision that I ever made was to step into that leadership role, not as a dictator, not just coming in trying to prove myself. And, I'm young, I'm just going to try to steamroll them. But I really stepped into that role humbly. And I took on a servant leadership heart posture. I went in, and for the first 2 weeks, I didn't correct, I didn't change things, I just listened. Again, I listened. I went into the team, I asked questions, what were their frustrations, what were the ideas they had, and I got to know the team really well. And then out of that, I established a system with regular one-on-one check-ins with my employees. And this was foreign to the business. They had performance shares to give raises and stuff. And that was more on a quarterly or annual basis at this point. But this was the first leader ever to step foot in their office that said, monthly, I'm going to meet with each individual team member on my team and just check in, and not a check-in to check their KPIs, to map their goals, really just check in and see how they're doing as a person. How are you doing, with your husband? How are your kids? I heard that you celebrated your grandma's 90th birthday. How is that? Tell me all about it. And really, And I wasn't doing it as a strategy. I really just genuinely cared, and I wanted to know my team really well because I felt that if I knew my team really well, I could support them really well. And this really shaped, and stepping into this really shapes how I approach leadership, because a leader's job is to raise up other leaders. We're called to approach leadership with such a servant heart posture. And this had so many great rewards for, this part of my career, because this to this day created the best team that I have ever worked with, a team that was highly engaged, a team that was so loyal to me and trusted me so much that, when I kept raising the bar of the expectations, they kept pushing forward because they knew that I had no ill will against them. They knew that I would have their backs, and I would push them, and I would create opportunities for them to grow in their careers. And so with that, it naturally created such a healthy and exciting, fun team culture in a small business. We were an orthodontic office, one doctor, 2 locations. We had a powerhouse team culture, and everyone was driven. They were all pulling in the same direction. And so those 2 things, a good leadership, a strong culture, naturally began to create a great customer service experience. And why is this all important? Well, this is what feeds your systems of growth. So if you want to grow your business, first you have to implement good systems and continuously monitor those systems. But those systems, without a team that works well together, without good leadership, and without good customer experience, you're going to flatline. You're going to reach a point in your business growth where things just kind of plateau. And so we had been plateaued as a business for a couple of years. And one thing that I did were these leadership and culture shifts, but also I loved connecting with our clients. It was one of my favorite things. I, as a leader, would pop out and greet patients. And, hey, I saw in your chart that you had a wedding. How was your wedding? Where was it? I want to know all the details. I just made it such a habit to check in on clients and to ask them how they're doing. That was something that the company had already had, but I really leaned into taking that to the next level and really reminding my team every day that that's how we show up for our customers. And over time, I began to add systems to that, systems to celebrating patient birthdays, systems to routinely call and check on patients and ask them for their feedback. How can we get better? Where are we failing? What were areas of opportunity you see for us so we can treat more patients like you even better? And that created such a great patient culture. We were able to go from sorry, that's my kiddo in the background. We were able to go from 3.2 million to 4.5 million in about a year and a half. It took grit. It took systems, but it took a good leadership team that really took care of people. And so this kind of naturally leads me to point 3 of my kind of career moments. That was an aha moment, really leading to what I'm doing now. And this is the corporate versus small business experience that I had. Now, working for this business, I eventually met my husband, began to have kids. We started our family, and I needed to step away. It was hard. I was so excited. We had just hit a huge milestone at the end of the business year when I made this hard decision, and I had landed a full-time remote job for a corporate solar panel distribution company. And so I was going to venture off. I needed the time to have my little ones full-time at home, to navigate, the beginning stages of becoming a mom. And it was just going to work out best for me. But during that time working for a corporate, it was a great experience, I'll say, because there was a lot that I learned from it. new opportunities for management, for project management. I was very fortunate to really learn heavily graphic design and email marketing. But during that time in corporate, I kept finding myself missing small business. And the reason why is because when you work for corporate, they are more about numbers. They're more about strategy, naturally. They're especially working at a company that is full-time remote. It is all very numbers focused, numbers driven. And I was missing the camaraderie and the proximity to people, the proximity to employees, the proximity to the clients, and really getting to build relationships. And so my third aha moment in working in corporate and having such a long history of working in small business was just that people really matter. And even when you're in corporate, it's the people that build your business. But I feel that corporate companies, while they're great, while there are so many of them out there, they miss the mark often on team culture, on really connecting with the clients and making it personal. And so there's just something in my heart that is so special. There's just a special place I have in my heart for small businesses. And so that is kind of why I am here today launching Gather. The final lesson as I reflected on all of this and these three key moments in my career that shape my philosophy, looking back, it's that the truth is business should grow people, not profit. When we're trying to build a business and we're focused on just the profits, just the numbers, we're missing the mark on such a big opportunity. When we build our marketing, our systems, our culture, our leaders, when we build them up around serving the people and having a heart posture that cherishes people, your business will grow through the roof and you will have a brand that just draws people and the money will follow. Those numbers will follow. And so that is why I'm building Gather. Gather is going to be an opportunity to work alongside small business owners, helping them to build up marketing that keeps people at the center, systems that are refined and that work for their people. Whether you're a one-man team or you're a team of 10, I want to help you build those systems that will help you reach your growth that you're desiring without losing that mom and pop feel, without losing that connection to people and to your team. I want you to create a small business that people want to come work at, that people, you have a line out the door of people who just want to work with you or support your business. And so, my philosophy throughout my career is the people principle. People are at the heart of everything in business. And when we can focus our eyes on that, you will have so much success. So I hope that you'll continue on as I work to build my business in real time in front of you, to come alongside you, help you in your career, in your business development, leadership development, and help you to understand the best ways to do this to increase your profits and to reach the goals that you're dreaming. Thank you for following along, and I look forward to seeing you guys in next week's episode. Oh my goodness. Bye.